What's going on, guys? Super Savage 789 here, bringing you guys another video. Today we're doing what if Broly was sent to Earth instead of Goku. Now, I know I've done a lot of what ifs, and I have a lot ongoing, so I figured 5 what ifs at any given moment should be a right amount, as you won't get bored of one particular what if, and you still get a frequent amount of them. So let's not waste any time, and let's get straight into this what if. Now, the change is very simple. Instead of sending Broly to Vampa, like King Vegeta usually does, he sends him to planet Earth. As Broly can at least make himself useful, killing some inhabitants, that should suffice. However, when Paragus threatens Vegeta, or more pleads to know where his son's going, Vegeta actually lies and says it's the planet Vampa. Paragus, believing his king's word, rushes off to Vampa. Now from here, events kind of play out like usual for a little bit, with Paragus stealing the ship from Beats and the two heading off to Vampa. After about a couple days, Paragus offs Beats as he needs to save food, but after about a month, he would quickly realise that his son isn't there. Upset that he fell for such an obvious lie, Paragus grabs the blaster they used to kill Beats and turns it on himself, shooting himself through the chin, up through the head. Paragus is dead. Meanwhile, in Mount Paozu, Broly, his pod, has just landed, creating a huge explosion for miles on end that people can hear. Broly nonchalantly walks out of his pod and starts to look around for food. After a couple hours of adventuring, Broly quickly comes across an old man named Gohan. Gohan asks the young lad where his parents are, or even his name, which he can somewhat get out, saying, Broly, in a very cute baby voice. However, he cannot spit out where his parents are, nor how he got there. Then, Broly's stomach growls louder than the pod explosion, which Gohan can hear. Obviously, he stood right in front of him. He says that he'll help out Broly and takes him back to a shack where he feeds him, not unlike Kakarot in the original. Then, Gohan decides to keep Broly, at least until his parents arrive. After a while, Gohan quickly realizes that Broly must have been abandoned and decides to take on the young lad for himself. He offers Broly some new garments instead of really tacky armor, but Broly doesn't want it. He'd rather just wear his armor, which is respectable in a way. I believe at the time of the Broly movie, Broly had a power level of about 970 or so he'd be pretty strong. Him and Gohan would usually spar from time to time, with Broly absolutely dominating him, being the strongest on the planet by far. Broly would be an absolute powerhouse, as most Earthlings are about a power level of 5, with the strongest being about 130, and the highest power level at that moment being Mr. Popo, who is stronger than him, but he's still a threat nonetheless. Over the years, Broly and Gohan become quite close, with Broly learning some basic martial arts skills off Gohan, and Gohan's power level skyrocketing to around 200. This, however, cannot save him from the unfortunate moment where Broly looked at the moon. And Ozaru Broly would go on a rampage, killing his grandpa and destroying acres of woods. After his rampage, Broly would fall out of this into a deep sleep in a little crevice that he made. That's when he's visited by Kami, and Mr. Popo have visited the young boy. Mr. Popo is so confused why they had to come, as this is just a natural path of the humans and they have to let it run its course. But Kami says that they can't allow this. His power level was too strong. He would destroy the entire world if he got the chance. Luckily he was in a secluded area, but what if he wasn't? Mr. Popo, not arguing with his logic, allows Kami to proceed. Kami grabs Broly's tail and rips it out. As Mr. Popo and Kami fly back on the magic carpet, Kami starts to talk to Mr. Popo about Broly. He says that one day he'll either be forced to stop Broly, or he'll be forced to train Broly. Either way, he's afraid of the results. Once awakening, Broly sees that he's missing his tail and thinks that a beast must have stolen it when he was asleep. But then, he spots his grandpa's corpse, and he starts to weep. He's enraged, but He can't handle this. He runs over and starts hugging his body, telling him to wake up, shaking it, but unfortunately, he won't. That's when he rips off part of Gohan's clothing and wraps it around him like a belt. He then buries his grandpa, putting a little cross above it, made out of sticks, of course. For a couple of years, Broly is forced to live alone, as no one else wants to even go near Mount Paozu. It's such a secluded place. No one except a mysterious girl, who, fatefully one day, runs into Broly. She crashes a car into Broly, which makes the brat really angry. He punches the car. Luckily, Bulma managed to jump out with all her belongings. This was lucky, as the car was flung into the horizon, exploding far off in the distance. Bulma yells, "What the hell is wrong with you? You treat young girls like this, who are defenseless, just like that? You're a monster." Broly then immediately apologizes, saying that, "Oh, I didn't know you were a young girl," and Grandpa said to be nice to girls. Like Goku, he offers to apologize to Bulma with food, which he allows as long as that's all he wants to do. At Broly's crib, they have an interaction similar to Goku and Bulma in the original, where she comes across the Dragon Ball. Of course, Broly decides to come along as well, as he has the same reason as Goku did in the original, to set off and embark on a quest of the legends. Bulma starts talking with Broly, asking why he wears such clunky armor. Doesn't it get in the way of his martial arts? Broly then reveals that it's quite flexible for when he needs it, and he finds it a lot more useful than wearing some really clothy garments, as they can get ripped super easy. Bulma then asks why he wears such a stinky thing around his waist, going to touch the Gohan belt. This enrages Broly, as he barks for her not to use it, crashing the motorcycle. This makes Bulma mad, and then Broly barks at her as she keep her hands to herself. This was his dead grandpa's. He then reveals what happened to his grandpa, and he was killed by a monster. She apologizes very quietly. The two continue through the forest, where Bulma stops to go take a leak. That's when the pterodactyl attacks her, and she calls out for Broly to help. Broly simply just jumps, hits the pterodactyl and kills it, catching Bulma mid-air and lands safely on the ground. She's amazed by how fast and how strong Broly is. At the hut, in the night, because Broly doesn't have a tail, Bulma doesn't think that he's unusual. And I believe that Kami can put an enchantment on to where a tail cannot regrow back, as seen with Goku, as his tail should have regrown back when he was a teenager. Once awakening, Broly and Bulma have an interaction that's very kind. Broly is pretty quiet, and Bulma starts asking questions about how he got so strong and about his grandpa. This lightens up Broly a bit, and he starts to consider Bulma a friend and an ally. And he even starts to think that, oh, she's not so bad. Maybe he should take it easy on her instead of treating her the way he treats everyone else. He walks outside and sees Turtle, and Bulma tells him that they have to leave Turtle. Broly then asks Turtle if he knows the Turtle Hermit, ignoring Bulma completely. Turtle says that yes, him and Roshi are very close, which makes Broly want to help. Bulma comes along, begrudgingly, as she cannot leave Broly behind, and therefore the Dragon Ball. They arrive at the ocean, where Roshi arrives, giving Broly the Nimbus. I believe Broly is pure-hearted, and so he can ride the Nimbus very easily, like Goku. Bulma still gets the Dragon Ball in the way she did in the original, because Broly and Goku have the same mindset in that way, being quite oblivious to the outside world. Continuing their adventure, they arrive in a desolate village, where Bulma says that the Dragon Ball is in this house. They call out for people, but it's ultimately useless. So, Broly just punches the door down, but is immediately shot. This makes Bulma more worried than the villagers should be inside, as Broly stands up in rage. He lets out a huge scream that breaks all the windows, but Bulma tells Broly to calm down, and says that, oh, he didn't mean it, and to apologize, which the townspeople do, saying, "I'm sorry, Great Master Oolong." Bulma then asks, "Who's this Oolong guy?" And they reveal the tale of Oolong. Broly also says sorry, as he did not mean to get outraged so easily. Bulma comes up with the same plan as in the original, which makes Broly dress up as a girl. Of course, he reveals himself when he takes a leak by the tree, but he can counter this, as he's much stronger than Goku, and in one punch knocks Oolong to the ground, very dazed, gasping for air as he just got winded by the punch. Oolong is then forced to go and find the girls, which Bulma gets the Dragon Ball for. Bulma also makes Oolong come along using the piggy laxative, and the boat thing goes about the same as it does in the original. Whilst walking through the desert, our gang come across Yamcha, like in the original. Yamcha attacks Broly, punching him in the face and using the Wolfang fist, but this does nothing. Broly easily dodges it all, and then kicks Yamcha in the throat, making him gasp for air as well, flinging him. He thinks that best be safe to keep a distance as to now. The campervan thing goes about the same as it does in the original, as does the RPG thing, with the car. They arrive in Frypan Mountain, where Broly walks up to Ox King. Ox King notices the weird belt wrapped around Broly's waist and says that, he had an old friend who wore something not unsimilar to that. Broly says that it was his dead grandpa, Gohan's, which makes the Ox King ecstatic. He says that he's sorry for his loss, but him and Gohan were great friends. This makes Broly ecstatic, and he starts to like Ox King more than he likes Bulma, due to the fact that he has an established relationship with his grandpa, who he held dear, due to the fact that Broly didn't have very many friends. Ox King tasks Broly to go find Master Roshi, as he's the only one who can put out the fire on Frypan Mountain. Broly picks up Chi-Chi, and the two get to talking, where Chi-Chi asks for Broly's hand in marriage, as he seems pretty cool. Broly ultimately says sure, but he doesn't know what that is, which makes Chi-Chi ecstatic. They arrive with Roshi, where he uses the Kamehameha, actually obliterating the mountain. Roshi is then shocked, as is everyone else, when Broly produces a Kamehameha, bigger than his. They all think that Broly must be stronger than him, which he very well is. Continuing the adventure, they arrive in the village with Monster Carrot, where that goes about the same as does the original. Broly not using the Yoibo, but instead just uppercutting Monster Carrot and his men to the moon. They are then put in Pilaf's castle with the Dragon Balls. Broly easily just kicks down the wall and walks out. He grabs the Dragon Balls and off Pilaf and the gang and runs a mile away so he can get a wish. He grabs Bulma and brings her over, where she uses the Dragon Balls to summon the perfect boyfriend. Shenron's eyes glow as he teleports Yamcha to them. Now, I know that Vegeta's a perfect boyfriend, but Shenron's doing the best he can, and I don't think he'll be able to reach into space to grab Vegeta, so Yamcha makes sense for the time. Everyone goes their separate ways as they do in the original, where Broly flies off to go see Master Roshi for training. That's when Krillin arrives on the island. And that's where I'm going to leave it here. Make sure you like and subscribe. Comment down below what you think's going to happen in the next part. I think my next what if I'm going to do is why Future Trunks returned part 3. Well, not returned, but went too far back. So you stay tuned for that, and I'll see you next time. Bye!